Hey everyone, I'm superphiz and I'm here with my dear friend Ben Edgington.
Hey everybody, hi Fizz, good to talk again.
Good buddy, good to see you. About every fortnight, really just for the past, how many times can I say fortnight in one block? For the past few months, Ben and I have been recording versions of his What's New in Eth2 newsletter. And today I'm really excited for Ben's 100th newsletter.
Yeah, we made it, triple digits.
We did. And so we will talk about this for an hour or so, and I hope you really enjoy listening to it. If you skipped to the bottom of the newsletter this fortnight, you'll recognize that Ben has decided to reprioritize his efforts. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Just draw a line under the relentless cycle, the treadmill of producing the Ethereum news every 2 weeks. Focus on some other things for the next little while, but not going anywhere. Might do some special editions every now and again, and so yeah, watch this space. We'll see.
Yeah, I sort of hoped as I'm because for me it's a grieving process, like, because I have enjoyed doing this, and I'm thinking let's just keep logging onto Zoom every couple of weeks, and like we may not have the guidance of the newsletter, but there's always so much to talk about. So maybe they wouldn't be as long, but they could still be valuable chats if you're interested in figuring that out.
I would love to do that. We can maybe take 2 or 3 of the big events of the last couple of weeks and talk nonsense about them for a few minutes. Yeah, and see if anyone wants to listen.
I also want to bring up another thing. Here's something funny. I'm on Zoom, like, I don't know, a couple hours a day, and every time I get in the call, I'm like, I don't know how this thing works. So I'm going to share this screen. We also have kind of a thing today. So a POAP for your 100th edition.
Oh man, that's awesome.
I love it. This is art thanks to sleety.eth, who I call between Unvetica.eth and sleety.eth. If I need, and well, Diablo Verde, if I need art, like those folks always come through. And so I haven't really brought this much up to you, but I kind of want to discuss it because I do believe people, if you're just listening to this, it's a POAP image with Ben's kind of PFP in the middle of it, and it says Eth2 news 100 editions. And my intention, my idea is to distribute this to people who want it. And if anyone who follows POAP a lot knows that we have to kind of limit distributions, because if we just kind of give codes out, then you'll have a bot farmer who gets all of them and people who want them don't get them. So the way that I intend to distribute this, and I didn't speak about this before, but usually the way we do it is that you would pick an organization that you like. It could even be yourself, if that's your choice. And we would put a very small price, like 0.001 ETH on this, and then use POAP checkout, and people could go and claim one for that small fee. Does that resonate with you at all?
This is awesome, Fizz. I am blown away. Looks amazing, and yeah, just really appreciate the thought. Do you have in mind a good cause?
I did not think of a cause because I didn't want to. I didn't want to take your opportunity.
Oh, no, I have something in mind, but it would need a bit of management. So I think it might have been last time or the time before we talked about the Lefteris, who's running the Berlin Marathon in a few weeks. He's raising money for a charity for babies with heart defects, for research into that, and great cause, and great effort from him. So I would love to support that. I don't think Lefteris wants to get lots of tiny donations in things. I think it just becomes complicated, but if we could kind of pool stuff and then send it over to him, I would love to support that if that's feasible.
I believe that's very workable, and so ideally before I publish this call, I'll chat with Lefteris and organize that, And hopefully by the time I publish this call, there will be a link at the bottom where people can go to the new POAP checkout. I have to say, POAP checkout is in beta. It is developed by Mentor, who is an absolutely fantastic human. I have to say that every time because he is. But we have had a few bugs with it. So if you don't receive your POAP after the checkout, just ping me, superphiz, on Twitter, and I will help you get it straightened out. But yeah, I love it. And I really love what you've done for the community. And I'm not ready to give up on our Hangouts, but congratulations on 100 issues.
Thank you, man. That's awesome.
All right, let's do this. Let's see, steak from home.
Your pick of the week. Your pick of the week, sir. I just loved it. I mean, that so you put up a tweet saying you will retweet pictures of anybody's home staking rig, and you've just been drowning in responses. Just so many, and brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah. So showing the mobile one.
That is awesome.
David Theodore, yeah, in his RV, is that? I don't know what your terminology is for that, but solar powered staking rig, just with Starlink. Awesome.
Yeah, that response, and also I loved the VCR one, but and this is also a big winner.
Yeah.
But and I think this is one of the most popular ones. My favorite thing about this kind of image is the message I've really been trying to get across to people, and was the whole purpose for this hashtag, and that is that anyone can do it. Anyone can have a NUC. You know, you spend a few hours figuring out the instructions, you bang your head for a while because it's, you know, it's not simple, but then you figure it out and it works and you're staking. And these images of the NUCs just make my day because they show that anyone can do it.
Yeah, totally. There are a lot of NUCs out there, but also a big variety of other bits and pieces. Raspberry Pis, yeah. Yeah, cable management stuff.
This is most similar to what mine would look like. And Jonathan Mann wrote a song about it. So
I haven't heard that one yet.
How awesome. Oh, I was about to say who that one is, but I guess people are anonymous. But yeah, it turned out really well. And I think it really does kind of humanize access to staking, which is one of my personal goals. Like, I want people to realize, hey, you can use, you know, $200 worth of hardware, the Raspberry Pi and an SSD, and stake. It's not out of reach for normal people. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, this is so much the Ethereum vision, right? I mean, democratize it. Yep, loved it. Yeah, what gave you the idea to kick that off? That was a shower thought, was it? Or?
Well, it's kind of like you said. It's the vision of Ethereum. The reason I don't shut up is because I believe in the vision of Ethereum. I believe in a truly decentralized network. And if we don't encourage normal people to participate, then centralization is the default. And so, you know, it's just another me trying to encourage people to understand that this network is made up of individuals, not of corporations. That's all.
Yeah. Yep. Brilliant.
Thank you. Ron Paul.
Yeah, it's such a great meme.
As long as I'm alive, this will be my crypto celebratory meme. So thanks, Ron Paul.
Yep. So the announcement was up. The announcement was delayed by a day, to much consternation, because Geth managed to put out a broken release, which was a bit of an oops, but they fixed it quickly. And there was just a slight delay while we kind of worked out where we stood with that and how to respond. But they fixed it quickly, and then the announcement was up. No change to merge date, no change to Bellatrix. So back on track.
That uproar was kind of interesting. Like, you know, that there was a target for that announcement, and yeah, so I updated Geth to 22, and when I saw the regression and, you know, that it corrupted the database, I panicked, but I dodged a bullet. So very happy to see that it did come through. It is good to see that. How do I frame this correctly? it's good that we observed a Geth fault right now. We need people to realize that client diversity matters. And this is it's a non-critical, it's nearly critical, but it's non-critical. And so it's good to get that message out.
Anecdotally, I have access to the metrics that we have on the documentation sites that Consensus has, and there was a big uptick in searches for Besu just after the Geth bug was announced, which was good to see.
Yeah, that I was going to say that coincided with my choice to run a Besu archive node, but I think I had already pre-planned that. But good. Let's see. Some of these important notes, and a lot of these are what you, I don't want to call them gotchas, but they are extremely important things to know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that people who read this and have been reading, what's new, are up to speed on all this. But I having spoken with people around who are clueful people who keep up to date with things and know their Ethereum, have been around a long time. There's a surprising level of not, I don't want to say ignorance, but unawareness, lack of awareness about what exactly it entails to be merge ready. Even among people who are fully in crypto and doing crypto stuff on a daily basis, they're just not as close to it as you and I are. So yeah, I just keep trying to sort of amplify the message, big red boxes and whatever, just so people aren't caught by surprise. It's my main concern now about the merge. Everything else is sweet. The protocol's good, the clients are good, we're all ready, and that the one thing that can go wrong now is people are not ready, and that's not in our hands anymore. We've done we put protocol, built it, designed it, we've done the clients, coded them up, tested everything, tested to death, and now it's out of our hands. It's up to everybody out there.
Yeah, it's the community now, and that's why now is the time people need to talk to their friends, talk to the people they know online, talk to the people, if you're lucky enough to know someone in real life who is actually staking. For some of us, that's like a far reach to know someone who's actually staking in real life. But talk to your friends about, hey, did you upgrade your node? Are you ready? Did you set a fee recipient? Do you have a JWT secret? Like, it's the right time to chum up to your buddies and sort of make sure that they're on board, because a lot of, we onboarded a lot of stakers who aren't following every day, who may somehow possibly not even know the merge is happening. And now is the time to kind of reach out to those people and make sure they're okay.
Yep, totally. Are you merge ready, Fizz?
Yes, I am. How about, well, I have primary nodes, fallback nodes.
how's your JWT token?
Hey, so it actually took me a while to set, because I set it up too early. It's harder than it should be, and I really loved hearing on the consensus layer talk encouragement to simplify JWT secret implementation. I really feel like that's a good goal.
Yeah, indeed. I am syncing up basically for the first time on mainnet, so it is currently going. If the bandwidth degrades, that's why. It's either that or my whole family watching the US Open on Amazon at the moment. And so yeah, I am a little bit behind you, but we'll in a couple of days we'll be fully merge ready.
If you glitch out, I'll know it's for the network.
That's right.
September 6th.
Yeah, it's coming. So September 6th is Bellatrix upgrade. I'm going to be on vacation, so I don't have remote access to my node. I think I need to configure that just to set my mind at risk. Otherwise, I'll be getting notifications from Beacon Chain and saying you've stopped a testing.
And you'll be too far away.
I need to drive home.
Are you familiar with Tailscale?
No.
It's a remote access service that everyone seems to love.
Okay.
To me, it feels like a third-party provider. Like, I'd much rather use a home VPN and SSH through that. But Tailscale seems to be what all of the cool people are using for remote access these days.
In that case, I must look it up. I will write it down there.
So
Yeah, so the point
3
about
merge
Bellatrix
chapters.
is that's the absolute deadline to get your what do we call it, consensus client fully up to date. So Teku 22.8.1 is the one, and all the right versions are listed in the Ethereum Foundation announcement. If you're not upgraded by September 6th, you will drop off the network.
Say that technical version again.
Teku 22.8.1.
Okay.
Yeah, we do calendar versioning, which is year, month, and then release within a month, which is zero based.
Yeah, I was just thinking that I'm still on version 22.7, so I might need to look that up.
Yeah. So 8.1's got the TTD baked in. So
okay.
yeah, that's the one.
I
That's
will
one you
check
need.
mine out. So TTD. Wait. So I want to clarify. The reason you say September 6th is the deadline is because that is technically a chain fork, and if you do not, or if you're not updated to Bellatrix by September 6th on your consensus client, then you will follow a forked head, and you will have to either back up or resync. Is that correct?
Correct. So that's so the beacon chain makes itself merge ready with Bellatrix. So it's not huge internally. It's basically changing around a few data structures, but it's it is a fork. It's not compatible with Altair, which is the phase that we're currently in. So anyone who remains on the Altair versions will fork off, and we'll have Altair and Bellatrix alongside. So hopefully the Altair fork will die. If you end up on it because you don't upgrade your client in time, you will likely end up with bad blocks in your database. We have a way to recover with Teku, but it's manual. You have to stop your client, run a utility that will delete the bad blocks, and you can go back, or you can just do a checkpoint sync on Bellatrix. The database fix up is really for archive nodes, which is a big deal if you have to resync from Genesis. But if you can do a quick checkpoint sync, then that's the fastest way to recover.
I want to shout out that I haven't used Besu a lot, but I've started using it the past probably 3 weeks. And while I initially didn't have a large enough Java heap, and I was having out of memory errors, once I figured that out and resolved it, like it's peachy. It's running really well. I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, good to know. They've been working hard. Yeah, team has been very much between you and me and our listeners. This week is we call it Productivity Zero week at Consensus. So we are all allowed effectively to do anything we want this week. Basically, take it off, go on vacation, whatever we want. I'm spending the week writing. The Besu team have agreed not to take downtime this week because they're aware that they've got to keep on top of everything for the merge. So they've postponed their downtime till after the merge. So
wow,
commitment.
I like that idea of productivity zero. That might be like a description of my life. But thanks to the Besu team for pushing on, and I hope you do get your downtime, much deserved. Total terminal difficulty, and we know that is an accumulated difficulty on the execution layer, that when we reach it, it will signal to the execution layer and consensus layer that we are shifting into proof of stake. And that's in lieu of a time-based. And it's not time-based, it's not block-based, it's difficulty-based, accumulated difficulty. We have these monitors. So let's check these out.
Yeah, and I've missed one. There's another one a bit further down. I link to some Dune dashboards, and there's another Dune dashboard with a monitor. And the curious thing is they all show different dates, right? I mean, there are different assumptions and modeling going into this because hash rate is very volatile. So yeah, this is so we're looking at anything from early on September the 15th to early on September the 14th. And I think this one shows the one that the merge countdown at the top is hard coded, but the one further down, if you go down a few rows to that box there, that's calculated on the fly, and that's showing 16th early as well.
So we have 14th, 15th, and 16th.
Yeah, indeed. I think you might need to refresh this. If you put where it says at the top, input any number, there. Just put in a number and then click apply all parameters, and then it will refresh. I think that's right. Yeah, no, it hasn't changed anything. So yeah, so we've got a broad range. So hash rate's very volatile. So I've seen one dashboard showing 13th. So who knows?
I'll take it. All I want is for it to be during waking hours in my time zone. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, there's a sort of window of three or so days when it would occur. But yeah, it's fascinating to see hash rate going up at the moment, which I had not expected.
I have been obsessed with Bordel.wtf. This is my favorite viewing portal. It's by Mario Havel, and I've actually set up a POAP that we'll be distributing for Bordel.wtf here pretty soon. So that's my way of celebrating things I love.
This is your new hobby. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know, a new hobby. I think I've been doing it for like 2 years now, but
Right.
I can't stop. Let's see. Testing the merge.
Yeah, mainnet shadow forks, just plug on, very quiet. I mean, the last one went, there was one node which wasn't quite ready for it. It wasn't fully synced. All of the other, 37 odd nodes sailed through it with no issues whatsoever. We got one coming in a couple of days. So Wednesday, mainnet shadow fork 12 will with the release versions of the clients for the merge. So hopefully it will also sell through.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the right place to say that there are likely to be bumps during the merge. There are likely to be when we have 4 execution let clients, 5 consensus clients, and 20 combinations. There is likely to be a combination that is not functioning correctly, but the odds are extremely high given our diversity that even though we should and expect to experience some turbulence, that the merge itself is likely to go just fine. Is that fair?
I think that is, and there have been client combinations which have been a bit bumpy, though I think everything's been smoothed out now. But by far the worst issues we've had on any of these forks, the testnet forks or the shadow forks, have been configuration issues, coming back to what we were talking about earlier. And even the experienced people can stuff this up. So it's not an easy upgrade. So take care, read everything, read all the checklists, read your logs on your clients. They will tell you if they're unhappy. That will help everything go smoothly.
Yeah, I think part of my desire is to prepare people to expect turbulence, even though I'm hopeful it doesn't happen. Because what you don't want is, the middle of this event and people see, oh, we missed the first proposal, and then, kind of flip out when it's totally okay. Like, it's going to be fine.
Yeah. I mean, the network is literally designed to be robust against faulty nodes. I mean, that's the whole point of the thing, is that a large fraction of your nodes can be faulty and it still works. That's kind of what we're doing here, building resilient distributed systems.
Yes, God, I love Ethereum. All right, so prepping for the merge, Infura has an overview.
Yeah, I'm a lot of time for Infura. They have been very good about working with people and solo stakers and dApp developers, and I think they're great people. Love working with them. And that's a good article. There's something in there for everybody, whether you're hosting a dApp, you're developing Solidity code, whether you're a solo staker, whether you're a large scale node operator. Infura's article is there's something in there for you.
Just to confirm, Infura is a consensus company, right?
It is part of consensus. That's right.
Just
yes,
checking.
Indeed.
It
is.
No, it wasn't a joke. I couldn't remember. Anyway. So Terrence, who I absolutely adore, has some great merge pitfalls.
Yeah, nice summary.
So these are all the things. I'll go ahead and say them really quickly, just because somebody may be listening. So you do need two clients, consensus and execution. You may still have your old port 8545. I think now we've switched to default of 8551, where and that's authenticated with a JWT secret, which is a kind of a hash. Is it a hash? No,
it's just random data.
Okay. Random data that will be shared between execution and consensus to make sure that it's a one-to-one communication channel. Forgetting to set your fee recipient. If you forget to set this, you're not going to get paid your priority fees and tips. And not opening up the new firewall hole, which I haven't done, but I'm not having a peer problem, so maybe it's a UPnP issue.
I think that's referring to the 8551. If you run on different machines, if you run your consensus client and your execution client,
that's why it's on the LAN.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Teku, I think, will refuse to start if you didn't specify execution engine endpoints, if you didn't supply a JWT token, or you didn't set the fee recipient. Teku just won't start, which is quite a, we've taken a kind of sledgehammer approach to. So read the error messages, and it will tell you what it thinks is wrong on that. Yeah, that's new. The latest version, the previous versions would start without that.
Well, and it's, on one level you have not configuring your updated clients correctly, and on the other level you have the not updating your clients and assuming everything is fine. And so we're likely to experience some fallout from people who just didn't upgrade at all. So
it's gonna happen.
Get those people caught up.
It's gonna happen.
Samara Sot.
Yeah. I mean, there aren't enough words. Samara has just been outstanding in his diligence keeping these guides updated. He's been working on these for over 2 years now, since he first wrote his first set of guides, and I probably he wonders what he got himself into from time to time. But it's and I know he appears on Discord, he asks questions, he asks for review, he makes sure that everything is accurate. These are reliable and thorough. Love them.
Yeah, he has instructions on this GitHub going back to the Topaz testnet, which May 31st, 2020. That's 30 years ago in crypto time. Yeah, and he's absolute gem of a person, and so he'll also be on our live stream.
Excellent.
So yeah, looking forward to seeing both of you. Let's see what we got here. So ethereum.org is all updated.
Yeah, though there is a banner right across the top, which if you're in dark mode, it comes massive orange banner in your face saying it's not updated. It's blue if you're in light mode. There you go on there. If you go to the relevant pages, it'll tell you they're not updated, but they are.
Oh, cool. Let's see. This page is out of date. Great. Yeah. But they are. So you seem to have a lot of familiarity with Japanese language.
Yeah, just showing off. I did study Japanese for a few years just on my own time, but I forgot nearly everything. So
clearly
my brain doesn't retain stuff anymore. But and I spent a good amount of time in Japan one way and another. So have a fondness for it. Yeah, this looks great.
I was very happy to get a reach out from one of the people who participated in Stake from Home, who said, "Here, will you share my node? And also, I created these directions and I ran them through Google Translate." And I was like, "This is great! This is great!" So yeah, very cool to have that.
Yeah. So this is self or home server staking guide.
One of my most in the Stake from Home, one of the most exciting things was seeing people who were not in the Western Hemisphere participating. And so, yeah, I'm really happy to see that diversity. eStaker did Merge Workshop 4.
Did you attend? I didn't get to this one, unfortunately.
I think I popped in for a moment, but I don't want to splatter my face all over everything. I sometimes I want other people to shine. So
yes, I dipped into the recording at various places, and I could hear that, you know, knowledge bombs everywhere. So yeah, it's always
Yeah.
excellent.
When it
So these guys are so knowledgeable and so generous with their knowledge. It's just fantastic.
Absolutely. Thurston and Remy, they are bottomless pits of knowledge, and Unvetica does such a great job of relaying that in ways that mortals can understand. So yeah, I'm very proud of them. We've seen the merge readiness checklist a lot. We've talked about that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So solo staking. Who'd have thought? It's very trendy at the moment. Wonder why.
You know, I don't know how many people realize that where we are now wasn't a given. That staking could have remained in the hands of the elite. It could have remained in the hands of operators and entities, and only like power users staking from home. So it is just so great to see normal people doing it. Leo Glissick is working on this Solar Staker initiative.
Do you know much about this? I only know what I read on Twitter.
Not deeply. We've chatted about it, but I've really encouraged him to run with it, kind of decentralized style, and he's doing a great job. So he has all of my support, but I'm not deeply involved.
Fair enough. Yep. Yeah, looks like fun.
And yeah, also Leo is I think he has a contest for NFT generation. So
yep, and paid for as well for the winning designs.
Well, what I'm really hopeful for, and I hope this would happen with POAPs, and it hasn't yet. I hope that an identifier of solo node operation will be a dropping point for anyone who wants to recognize people who give value to our decentralized network. So
yeah, it's not 100% clear to me how anyone will identify solo stakers, but I mean, deposit address might be something, but yeah, I'm not.
They've posted their method. It's essentially starting with deposit address and then filtering out known entities. Yeah, so it's essentially a filter list. But
okay,
I do think it's a valid attempt. I really so it may not filter out small entities, but small entities are essentially, you know, providing the same level of decentralization. By filtering out the largest entities, we can focus on the smaller providers.
Cool. Yeah, like it.
Marceau's staking chart. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this because I got slammed a little bit for promoting it.
Yeah, I mean, it's what do I like? I like that there's a spectrum of staking. It very much highlights that, you know, there are two ends and degrees in the middle, and it identifies the factors which go into decision making, you know, around whether it's trustless, permissionless, whether it's enables liquid staking, and so on. I mean, some of the compatibility, you know, some of it might be making assumptions which haven't been proven in reality around censorship or whatever. But, you know, in general terms, I think it's if we take the, you know, the red and the orange and the green slightly, make it a little fuzzier, then it works well.
Yeah, that's me at first blush. It's consistent with everything that I generally hold true. I do, you know, a lot of people found holes to poke in it, and I don't disagree with those, but I do feel like on balance, it is it's generally reflective of where we're at.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we can argue about the details, but I mean, I think the general categories moving from left to right are the right ones, and yeah, interesting opportunity space in the middle for newcomers to occupy.
I love that he left that And I could almost debate that Rocket Pool would be on the other side of it, because there's still a lot of opportunity to do better. I look forward to that. Hey, so I've heard about Sedge. I haven't looked at it. Have you looked at it?
Not in detail. I just had a quick glance at the repo. So this was brought up on, I think, the Consensus Dev School last week. And yeah, I hadn't been aware that Nethermind have clearly been working on this for a little while. And the idea is it's another sort of one-click set up your staking operation tool. Supports a bunch of different clients, and not fully mature yet, but keen to receive contributions. And yeah, good on Nethermind for putting it together.
Yeah, it makes me think a little bit of ETH Docker. And I would really love to just do like a walkthrough with that, just to share it, because I think it's going to be pretty awesome. So I saw the kiln thing. I don't recall. But did you post that? Someone posted that, and because of who posted it, I was like, "Oh, that's really interesting."
Yeah, it was me.
It was a credibility. It was credibility by association, I guess, is where I'm going. It might have been maybe Perry or someone who when someone has a lot of credibility and they share something, you're like, "Oh, well, it must be credible."
Retweet immediately.
Yeah. Do you want to read this article? No, just retweet it.
Yeah, I mean, it's good stuff for us all to think about how we monitor our own nodes. Maybe not so relevant to your average small staker. They are thinking in terms of setups with hundreds to thousands of validators for some of these metrics. But I think it's good to ask yourself the questions. Am I monitoring the right things? Am I going to be aware if something goes wrong? We had an issue raised with us today as Teku team about Teku. Turned out that the operator, large staking operator, I'll tell you who it is once we stop recording, had run out of disk space. And that's a no-brainer. It's easy to monitor, right? But it's not necessarily easy to tell from, oh, we've just stopped a testing. Monitoring the right stuff.
That's my big takeaway from that is always that home users in many cases are as robust as large providers. While large providers may have more experts on staff, lots of us know how to look at a system and see if it's running or not. So Alex Stokes, Alabaster, I'm not familiar with this.
Implementation of these specs. So we have this consensus beacon chain specification, which is, we call it the state transition. Effectively, it's how you process blocks and attestations, and it's written in Python in the spec repo, and we generate the test cases directly from the spec. It's executable, so we can actually run the spec, generate the test cases, and all the clients conform to that. Alex has done a version in Rust, which is more trendy than Python, also more performant. I'm not sure what his long-term goals are with this, but it's another sort of arrow in the quiver. Potentially it's useful for building testing around, or other infrastructure stuff where it's useful to have a sort of state transition handy. I point out that implementing the spec is like 5% or less than actually writing a client. I used to think it was maybe half of the work of writing a client, but now it's the state transition is nothing. It's the networking, it's the database, it's the logging, it's everything around it, the command line, it's the optimizations. Everything else is just dwarfs actually writing, implementing the spec. But yeah,
I love that, because people are like, why did it take 4 years to implement the spec? And it didn't take 4 years to implement the spec. It took 4 years to implement everything else.
The syncing and checkpoint sync and the whole thing is massive.
I love this word, by the way, rustations.
Yeah, I only wrote this paragraph so I could use the word rustation.
So doing dashboards with Eth2.
Yeah, I know you like your dashboards. Yeah, a bunch of beacon chain and merge related stuff here. If you go down to the last one, there's another merge predictor. I think yeah, that one is another merge predictor, which is predicting the 14th now. Yep.
The funny thing with these is, as many predictions as we've done, you would kind of think that they would coalesce on one that is most accurate, but we always still have multiple implementations with different heuristics.
Uh, yeah, I mean, it's nobody knows what the most accurate is. We just can't predict future hash rate. I mean, so you assume the hash point rate at this point in time will be constant until the merge and work on that basis, or we take an average over the last day or the last week, or we do what Bordell does and do some sort of polynomial fit to recent hash rate and predict doing that. But who's to say which is best? I mean, it's effectively a random walk.
Yeah, my money's on Bordell.
We'll see. We'll see.
Let's see. Tell me about what Adrian has done this week.
Oh, this is just a small thing. He's just making some notes on it's rather technical, but yeah, this actually popped up in Discord earlier. Somebody asked how to do this. How do you download blocks on a non-canonical fork? So if you get a fork in the beacon chain, sometimes you want to look at your node believes a beacon chain is following one fork, but you want to get the blocks from the other fork that it effectively can't see. Is decided to downgrade the importance of that. So not all clients actually store those blocks. So non-canonical blocks, Teku does, and so you can retrieve them. So that's just it's one for the pointy heads. This one.
I'm just happy to see a code snippet that I can read. Like
shell script, yeah,
I can read
even Adrian's shell scripting is so much more beautiful than mine. I just I read it and weep.
So Validator execute, that's going to be a big deal here in the next few months.
I mean, more so when withdrawals are enabled. But so what you can do now, if you want to cease validating, you can actually initiate an exit. You've always been able to do this. And then you can turn your validator off once it's complete. It takes a day or so. You can turn your validator off, and then you can retrieve what's remains in your account on the beacon chain when withdrawals are enabled. So if you no longer want to stake, you don't want to maintain your equipment or whatever, there is an exit route. You literally send the voluntary exit message, but your funds are locked up until withdrawals. Now, of course, when withdrawals are enabled, that will catalyze people to exit more potentially, if because they can get their funds back if they need that for any reason. The exit queue is rate limited, and the current rate is 6 validators per epoch. That's 1,350 a day, and we've got 400,000 odds, so that's best part of a year if everybody wants to exit. So this thread doesn't actually calculate that 6 per epoch number, but all the rest of the info's there, why we have the queue and so on, is in there. I just wanted to kind of highlight the actual number so that people are aware.
Yeah. And I'm under the impression that because of like changes in custody of validators between large entities, that some of those large entities will necessarily exit and re-enter, and so my personal belief is that the exit queue is going to appear to be inflated by the appearance of exiters, and I think that's going to also like add fuel to people saying, oh, people are exiting, I should exit too. And that's really these large entities who essentially, like, let's say that I had a validator, but then my company got bought by Ben's company. And so, but I still control those keys. It's funny that I said Ben's company. It's not what and so when the merge happens, I would then need to exit and transfer that to Ben so that he could have full custody of those, and that it wouldn't be shared between two parties.
Yeah, be interesting to see. I'm not going to sweat it. I mean, 400,000 validators plus. I mean,
Oh,
we've
we're
got
strong.
plenty of, yeah.
I really think that after September 15th that we're going to see a fresh new influx of, and maybe that influx won't come till after withdrawals are enabled, but I don't know. I guess we'll see.
There is a school of thought that says having withdrawals enabled actually de-risks things for people, and there will be more people willing to stake at that point. And that there is a theory that there's a lot of ETH sitting on the sidelines that doesn't want to get locked up indefinitely, but when it's can stake and unstake in a reasonable amount of time, is likely to come on board. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we don't have to speculate, but I do think newer solutions that allow more liquid, not liquidity token, but more liquid staking are going to appear. Let's see. What do you got? Where do you want to go here?
We need to crack on a bit.
Are you in a hurry?
We can.
Oh, we're fine. Hey, you know what? It's your last article. If we annoy people and they swear they're never going to watch another one, then the joke's on them.
Yeah, Fortune magazine. So yeah, crypto's going mainstream, right? I mean, I rejoice when I see accurate articles in the relatively mainstream media about crypto stuff, because there's so much nonsense out there. And this article is by and large accurate. They have their little what could go wrong, a little bit of jeopardy, but that's just journalists doing journalist stuff. But it actually says true things, which is
look at this, quoting our boy. That's a big shift I've observed in what I want to call the past 5 or 6 months, notably. So there are a couple, but CNBC, Fortune, and there's one more that is mainstream news outlets who are really trying to get it right. So I love it now when when you point something out and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, that isn't correct, let me fix it. And I'm like, wow, that's great. Like, I really appreciate their support.
Totally. I think Preston from Prism was in New York Times today. I haven't read it yet, but
yeah.
I saw a picture on Twitter of
demonstrating
him
his hair.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, hold on. We have to. I was going to type in Preston Van Loon hair. Can't type because I'm on the net worth. What's his net worth? Preston Van Loon, New York Times. Is it New York Times?
I think so. That's my bad memory.
Reputable. I just want to see the screenshot. Or the
Crypto can't wait for Ethereum's merge.
Okay, well, so I was really hoping to see this image that this is it. Oh, that's our buddy. But to know Preston, and he's just a humble, sweet guy, and he's just filled with knowledge. And I haven't read this yet, but I can't wait to.
What a great picture.
Yeah, I saw that. And that's aside from being the developer of one of the strongest consensus clients, Preston's other claim to fame is his hair. So
yeah, maybe the third best hair in crypto. I don't know. That's a rage. I'm not going to get into that debate. Actually, no, I'll take it back. That's probably nasty, that debate.
Okay. Ethereum cat herders doing a great job as always, getting out really quality information. So have you? I have to confess, I haven't heard Anthony Sassano on SSV Networks stuff.
Yeah, well, he interviewed me for one of the sessions, and
You
it
had
was
to
great.
listen.
He was exactly, I had no choice. Yeah, no, he did a great job. Just led it through very nicely indeed. So he's done. There've been quite a few of these. I flagged them up, most of them, I think, over the weeks. I don't really get on very well with listening to Twitter Spaces, I have to say, but they have said they will publish the recordings separately. So I'm waiting for that, and then I can download and listen when I'm out and about.
Yeah, it's good exercise material. So it doesn't matter if we've used all of our time. This is the second most important thing in this article, in this newsletter. The first thing being your I was going to call it retirement, but you're not really retiring. You're just changing gears. You're still at Consensus. You're still writing the book. We're still going to meet in 2 weeks, right? But let's talk about the tornado.
Yeah, let's talk about the tornado. Yep, indeed. You know, I mean, that's a massive subject. Every single podcast I've listened to for the last 2 weeks, and there've been a lot of them, have been about you know, the OFAC sanctions thing, and it's gone crazy. So much speculation and concern trolling and so on. I mean, it's massive, and the reality is that it's, you know, the actual real situation today is nothing like what people out there are portraying. I mean, right. So but I think people are concerned about a direction of travel where we could end up potentially with a censored Ethereum network. And yeah, so first thing to say is that Justin Drake is on Bankless episode that was released today, and he did a talk over the weekend about censorship in Ethereum. He's published the slides. You can find them on Twitter if you look for Justin Drake there. And you know, he covers this in much more depth and much more knowledgeably than I do in a couple of paragraphs here. But it's effectively the same message. There are two ways in which people might nodes so let's say stakers might censor Ethereum, might choose to try to censor out of fear of being on the wrong side of OFAC sanctions. They only apply to US citizens or people associated in some sense with the United States. So, you know, most of us at this point don't need to worry about it. But yeah, people might self-censor. I think Justin calls this soft censorship, or weak censorship, I should say, which means that I, as a staker, I refuse to include in any block I create a transaction which I'm uncomfortable with because I feel it violates a sanction, or it might be something like, you know, it tries to extract MEV or something. But, you know, whatever it is, I'm not happy with that transaction. I refuse to include it in my block. And, you know, Ethereum is highly resilient to that. You know, block builders have the privilege, proposers have the privilege of choosing transactions from the mempool, and they've always had that freedom. They order them how they like, and, you know, this is recognized in protocol, and that's the reason we rotate block proposers. You know, some protocols, you know, some old-fashioned BFT protocols have a leader that's a leader until they, you know, act in some way against the protocol, and then they're outvoted and somebody else becomes the leader. We don't do that. We rotate the leadership every single block so that we can make sure that everybody gets a fair crack, and nobody can have control, you know, permanently of which transactions are included in the network. So Ethereum is resilient to that. Eventually someone will come along who will include your transaction. In order for that to be effective, 100% of the nodes would have to be censoring, and you know, that's not going to happen. Now, it's not great for the person whose transaction might get censored. They might have to wait a long time. They might have to pay higher gas fees, you know, to get it in a block. But ultimately, it's better than the status quo, where, you know, in the real world, in the, you know, the normal financial system, they may have absolutely no way to transact. And so Ethereum gives them a way. It may not be perfect, but it is, yeah, it is achievable. It's a 0 to 1 kind of thing. They can do something now that they couldn't before. So I'm relatively relaxed about that. Not delighted, you know, I'd rather people didn't censor stuff, but it's not going to break anything if they do on that weak censorship. Much more concerning, and this is what we've been talking about on the devs calls, is actively censoring the network, or I think Justin calls it strong censorship, whereby I, as a staker, I refuse to recognize any block that contains a transaction I don't like. So in addition to not making blocks that contain bad transactions, I refuse to recognize any block that contains a bad, quote, bad transaction. And that means that I won't build on them and I won't attest to them. And, you know, there are some people saying that OFAC compliant stakers will have to do this. And the way it would be implemented is the execution client would have a sort of deny list and would declare any block. You know, when it validates a block, it would check against deny list. If the block contains a transaction that it doesn't like, it will declare that whole block invalid. And oh, you're right, you get shot.
my son is banging on the door. He gets a little demanding. I'll mute and be a good citizen.
Yeah, well, I'll stop rambling on shortly.
No, I'm loving it.
So the issue here is that if less than 51% of stakers do this, and it's basically a losing strategy, all that happens is they lose out on rewards, because the rest of the network won't recognize or reward their behavior. You know, they'll miss the correct vote on attestations, and their blocks will be orphaned. So it's the real worry is if over half of the network is able to agree on a bad transactions list and to actively censor blocks that contain these transactions. So this is a 50 plus epsilon percent attack, then they can control the fork choice rule. They can control which blocks get into the chain. And in that situation, Ethereum becomes fully censoring. So if half of all stakers actively censor, then we have strong censorship, and the Ethereum protocol then becomes censored. So the question is, what do we do? I mean, any kind, it's basically a 51% attack, and you know, blockchains it's hard for blockchains to deal with that. So what we have though is the layer 0 below the protocol, which is you and me and all the other thousands of stakers out there, and you know, we can choose what to do about this. You know, these nodes are not obeying the rules of the protocol. They're not following the fork choice rule. There are specific rules about which blocks are correct and incorrect. They're violating those rules. And so the discussion at the last couple of devs calls has been, can we, ought we, should we slash them for that behavior? They're breaking the rules of the protocol. We should punish them. That's normally done automatically by the protocol. You know, we have this automatic slashing. Censorship is very hard to detect in protocol. So it's not really possible to automate it, but we can detect it out of protocol. So the idea is that if we provably detect that somebody is actively 50% of the network or getting close to it, or a large fraction are actively censoring the network, that it becomes a danger, then we agree collectively to issue client software that will slash them, will exclude them from the network. And then people are free to either upgrade to that or not upgrade to it. It becomes a kind of DAO fork situation. Yeah. There we go. I've gone on quite long enough about that.
No, I love it. Because this conversation is necessary. This is a thing that we have been able to ignore for a long time. And that allows centralization to creep in. It allows people to get complacent and focus on profit rather than the purpose of the network. And so nobody's going to want to hear me say this, but I appreciate that these new sanctions, and Tornado Cash is a valuable tool. I don't want to see it go, but opening up this conversation allows us to harden the network before it's too late, before we fall into this false sense of security and then are defenseless against it. So
yeah, absolutely. You've highlighted a sentence. I'm actually pretty happy that our complacency bowl has been pricked by all this. We haven't had to worry about this for a while. We've almost forgotten, you know, what is the whole point of the thing. You know, in DeFi summer and everything, everybody was having far too much fun to kind of worry about the fundamentals: permissionlessness, censorship resistance, you know, global reach, these fundamental values that we have. And yeah, there's also been a lot of hand wringing about, oh, sorry, I should say concern trolling about moving to proof of stake and how this makes it so much worse and blah, blah, blah. It's actually under proof of stake, we have more options for dealing with this. We have exactly the same weak and strong censorship issues with proof of work, weak censorship, where I don't include transactions I don't like in blocks, exactly the same on proof of work. Strong censorship, where I refuse to build on a block that contains transactions I don't like, exactly the same in proof of work. 51% of the network can take over the proof of work fork choice rule. So if 51% censor in proof of work, then the whole network is censoring. Exactly the same.
Yeah.
There is no difference, except that under proof of stake, we have some tools that we can deal with this. Under proof of work, there's nothing you can do.
I really like the idea, and I actually said this on Twitter, and I mean it. I believe that it's wise for us to demonstrate our willingness to socially slash a validator who censors. And it's I was saying, eStaker has a validator. I would gladly sacrifice a validator as a demonstration that it is something we will do. And rather than waiting until, 20 or 30% of the network begins censoring transactions, that we are proactive. And just like, the fork choice rules, we enforce them from the beginning. We don't wait until they reach a threshold to begin enforcing them. Because if we allow censorship to sneak in, it's only going to spread. But if we prevent it from the beginning, we may have a leaner network, but it'll be a healthier network.
I think you should appear on the next All Core Devs call and make the proposal. Yeah, you and Micah. So should say Micah Zoltu led the conversation on the devs calls about this. Grateful to him for his curation of the core values of Ethereum. He does a great job of being he's basically our conscience. I appreciate that.
His talks on both ACD and consensus are the most that I've ever aligned with him. I practically cheered him on, and normally I'm like, oh well, it's an interesting perspective, but his thoughts on this censorship resistance, I fully align with. So thanks, Micah. Let's zip through this because I know you watched the clock. So we're almost through, but I did want to shout out to Brian Armstrong, who he didn't have to make this stand. He didn't have to go on Twitter and say we're going to stop before we censor, but that does demonstrate an alignment with our values. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think it's worth raising as an option for people. I mean, you've got this whole thing has been cast in a kind of binary way that you either follow OFAC rules or you don't follow OFAC rules. But there is a third option, which is just stop staking. We spoke earlier about exiting. You can do that today if you feel under pressure to follow the OFAC sanctions, or you're uncomfortable running a node that properly validates a network. Then you have an option. Just stop doing it. And I'd rather have fewer stakers than have stakers who are not going to act in the best interest of the network. And that's absolutely fine. I'm not going to judge you for that. Yeah, that's a good conscience, principled stand to take. If you are worried about going to jail for validating the network, then just stop validating the network. Just please don't go to jail.
Yeah, that's I've said many times I will not break the law to support Ethereum. But I will do everything I can to support Ethereum within the legal bounds of the law. And if I can't be a validator, that's okay. I'll exit. I'll let people who can do the job do the job. He's having a day. Well, I think that we've knocked it out. I know that we didn't. Well, let's do the research too. Are there things that you definitely want to hit?
I mean, a lot of stuff. This data availability sampling article by Joachim, I think it's new, looks deep, and I'm looking forward to reading that. So, if you want to kind of challenge, have a grey matter workout, Hello, mini fizz. If you want to have a grey matter workout, then I recommend that. That's going to be my reading this week. So looking forward to that. But yep. And you know, nothing else, I think.
Okay. I'm sorry, it's difficult being distracted. But my big guy is the best thing ever. Let's see. Bounties are quadrupled, $1 million bounty, which obviously they don't assume that anyone will claim it, but more power if they can.
Yeah, outstanding quadruple bounties until the 8th September for merge-related bugs. Regular bugs have the regular bounty, but merge-related ones are 4x.
Okay. Danny's finalized is always worth a read.
Yeah, he's just some. So worth highlighting merge data challenge. So the Medasha data challenge a couple of years ago. I can't remember if we've had one since. I couldn't find a record of it. That was produced some outstanding work. I think Pintail came to my attention at that time and wrote a really, really good analysis of what was happening on the beacon chain through the Medasha testnet. Yeah, and some people got involved who are still around from that time. So yeah, definitely worth getting involved in the merge data challenge, and there are prizes on offer.
I'm looking back at this edition 55. That's
it's a
an
long
oldie but a
time
goodie.
ago.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And so the big wrap up. Thanks again. I have loved 4 years of What's New Eth2. I don't even know when I discovered it, but it since very early on I've been following along. I wish that I had the foresight to have these chats with you earlier, but they've been very valuable to me.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a lot of fun. I'll tell you the thing I'm most happy about just putting this aside is that I no longer have to argue with Micah and Trent about saying Eth2 all the time. So that will no longer be a weekly occurrence.
I'll be honest, it has crossed my mind. Like is this like an Eth2 battle of the brains where Ben can't get away from Eth2, but the other guys, the other folks in the community, because they give you too much crap about it. But forget the name. The value is just and has been incredible forever. So thank you for everything you do. And that's not from me. That's from the 1,000. I don't know how many people read, at least 1,000 people a week who benefit from this newsletter.
Yeah, well, as I say, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be around. I'll be writing, and I will pop up, and I'll try and do the occasional special edition when anything interesting happens in the ecosystem. Yeah, you and I can keep chatting.
Yeah, I wanted to find that POAP image. I've lost it, but I do plan to, as soon as we get off this call, well, I probably have family responsibilities, but I do plan to issue that as a POAP, and I will include a link in the bottom of the description, just as a way to sort of celebrate your success as a community. So it's been meaningful to all of us.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to stop recording. Let's see.